everything people do is government grants. Suddenly you become a Rama Bhakta, then another government comes, suddenly you become something else Bhakta. It's all about moving to Delhi to be near the government. My privilege is not about money. My privilege is about speaking for people who can't speak. In my own personal life, I feel that fear is when you have to hide something. There is not a single day when you don't have to fight.
The performance is tremendous, wonderful, fantastic, and it gives goosebumps, you know. So you actually telling about your mother. So I just wanted to ask you that Mrinalini Swaminathan has a legacy of Shantiniketan and Bengal.
That's why I said, you know, Amma considered Gurudev her only true guru.
Yeah. And
not her dance gurus, but Gurudev. And yeah, Gurudev was in our house. My father's family was also very close to him. They used to come and stay at his house here. So the Sarabhais and the Swaminathans were both very close to.
मन के साथ मन को जगाओ V-Guard water heaters के संग V-Guard.
And the liberal space of art created by Rabindranath Tagore also, if I say, inherits by you.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah?
Very much so. Very much so. The questioning, the commentary, the not being apart from life and politics.
Right.
I mean, I mentioned the wife's letter. It was radical at the time. It's still radical. So yes, and I went to a school which was started by Modern Montessori, and the first songs I learnt were Rabindra Sangeet.
What is that? Do you remind?
Madhu Gandhe Bora.
Oh, it's very nice. And I'm just observing your performance, and I feel that you keeping the tradition of art, you put the modern and social context on it, and you are very successful in it.
Thank you.
So how you improvise?
No, I think, you know, like we are talking English just now. I can say the F word, or I can talk poetry. Bharatanatyam for me is a language. And that's why I go in this piece from what used to be performed 1,000 years ago and is still performed to where I have taken agency of the language. It is my language to express my thoughts. And my thoughts are not about Ganesha today, though I always seek his blessings, but my thoughts are about what is happening around us. And I feel the arts are a very powerful language, and Bharatanatyam is a language that can embody any modern concept. I wouldn't say Kuchipudi is that. I don't compose in Kuchipudi, but Bharatanatyam is that language. So I can say with it Maya Angelou or the Tadom Project or Chup, and it still makes complete sense. Everything I did today was complete.
Relating.
Yeah, and everything I did was Bharatanatyam. I wasn't mixing it with anything else.
Definitely. And I'm very curious about you use Bharatanatyam in Chandalika also.
That was Amma's choreography, and Amma felt that the attackers in Chandalika, the upper caste, were human beings that somehow became warped. So she took a movement and made it warped. That was her choreographic interpretation. That all of us start off as human beings, but which path we take, whether we become beautiful flowers or whether we become warped or whether we become ugly or whether we create ugliness around her, it's the same body.
And do you brand yourself as a feminist activist?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Since I was 5 years old, I think. I don't understand why people think feminism is a dirty word, because to be a feminist is to be a humanist.
Of course.
It means having equal rights and a level playing field for everybody. So I'm very much a feminist. I call myself an artivist.
And why from 5 years?
When I was 5 years old, because my family is full of fighters. On the one hand, I had Captain Lakshmi Sehgal. On the other hand, I had Anasuya Sarabhai and Mridula Sarabhai. And all of them, I never met a woman who wasn't fighting for justice, for humanity, for people, not for herself.
Nowadays in India, Ramayana is a new political construct. And we have seen many dancers are performing from Ramayana nowadays. Is there any kind of connection with government grants?
Of course. Everything people do is government grants. Suddenly you become a Rama Bhakta, then another government comes, suddenly you become something else Bhakta. It's all about moving to Delhi to be near the government, and about government grants, of course. I did Sita's Daughters in 1990. Sita's Daughters was looking at, it started with the Ramayana, but from Sita's point of view. And I remember protests then, because my Sita said, Ram, if you are a god, you must have seen through the fact that Ravana was not Ravana,
Right.
that the deer was a Marisha. Then why did you not stop it then? Was it for your own leadership, because you wanted to prove yourself a man? And then I went on to modern women and so on. People who raised their voice against injustice. And that was in 1990. So people doing Ramayana just now and going on bhakti, bhakti, bhakti is sweet, but opportunist.
Do you have any fear? You know, fear always chasing us, the normal people.
You may not remember, but in 2002, during the Gujarat genocide,
I know.
I took a stand. And so I suppose danger and knowing where I stand has been part of my life for 22 years. And I think I come from a family where one has to do what one has to do. That is my privilege. My privilege is not about money. My privilege is about speaking for people who can't speak, for standing up for people who can't stand up, for standing up for the truth. And in my own personal life, I feel that fear is when you have to hide something. I've written a book called In Free Fall, where the first reaction of people who read it is, how can you be so bold and courageous and open? And I feel that in public life, people lie so much, and PR agencies manufacture so many truths, that I decided very early when I went into the limelight that I would speak the truth. And if people wanted to respect me in spite of all the things that I have done, failed at, issues I have, then let them respect me. If they respect a masquerade or a mask of Mallika Sarabhai, then it's not worth that respect. So fear is a factor that one has to confront every day.
What is your reading about Peter Brook's Draupadi?
Peter Brook's Draupadi was also Mallika's Draupadi, because
Yeah.
when I first went there, it was a very different interpretation of Draupadi, and over an 8-month period I convinced both Peter and the writer Jean-Claude Carrière. It was an extraordinary Draupadi. She was an extraordinary, and it was a Draupadi that seemed to relate to women across the world. And that's when I took the decision that when I finish with the Mahabharata, I can't go back into being a Bharatanatyam dancer and an activist. That my performance was the greatest form of reaching out to audiences with different thoughts, with alternative perspectives. And since 1990, that's what I've been doing. So Draupadi was a very pivotal part of my life, as was Peter Brook.
Yeah, and do you heard about RG Kar movement in Kolkata?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And it's horrendous. It's horrendous what's happened. Yeah.
And we are fighting for the justice.
We have to, there is not a single day when you don't have to fight. It's
Actually.
one step forward and 17 steps back, especially now. The regression that has happened in the last few years in the language, in what we eat, in what we wear, has taken us back 100 years. We have to make our future. Each one has to make their own future. And we are the future. If we are enough who feel this way, we will change the world.